In this video, we're gonna analyze and look at every single board in Mario Party Superstars to determine what the best board in this game is. And like always, we'll start off with my least favorite board and work our way up to the best board in the game, which is a board I'm actually a really big fan of in how it plays. And as you can see here, I brought a bunch of real life boards here so we can analyze these with the video game boards to fully get... Stupid idea. Let's start the video. So there is 5 boards in this Mario Party game that we're gonna rank today, and I gotta say, I do generally like the board choices that they put in this game, but out of them all, my least favorite is Woody Woods. Okay, so this board has some good things going for it, but some frustrating drawbacks. But let's start with the good, because the layout of this board I really like. It has a lot of crisscrossing between paths, and overall provides a lot of different ways to go. And I just like these 2 trees, one good, one bad, that help you or hinder you if you land in front of them. And this makes for a really cool aesthetic they got going with the good and evil forest here. But the main gimmick, however, can get very frustrating and annoying, I'll say. See, every turn, these 3 arrows at these intersections will change direction, in which you then have to go that way. You can't choose which path to take. So a lot of the times, you will get totally screwed out of a star if you don't make it to the intersection by the end of the turn, and have to completely go the wrong way. Like, yes, it can get strategic if you use blocks like the cursed or custom dice block, where you have more input on your dice roll, and I do like this element of strategy when it is used, but if you don't have the luxury of carrying these items and just hit a plain old dice block, well then you could be looping around in circles merely based on luck, which is no fun. Like, okay, don't get me wrong, I'm not here to bash every board with luck elements in Mario Party. In fact, I like luck elements in these boards. But when the penalty for being unlucky is this high, then things get frustrating. For example, if the star is up here and you happen to get the wrong direction on this fork in the road, well then you literally have to go all around this path just to make it back. Granted, this is the most extreme example of this, but the other loops are still not fun to get stuck in. They do have these 2 moles that will change the arrow direction when you talk to them though, which seems like a nice element of strategy that they added, until you realize they're both placed at the furthest points away from the arrow sections, so you can't even use them for your benefit, but only to screw over others, which makes it even more aggravating. This board overall is just a lot more luck dependent and random than the others, making it the one I choose to come back to the least. So going from the complexity of the previous board, we're now talking about a board that's a lot more simple. Maybe even too simple. I don't know, but we'll find out as we talk about this board. Right now, this is Yoshi's Tropical Island. This map here is really just 2 loops on these 2 islands that are connected by, you guessed it, 2 bridges. It's actually a very symmetrical map now that I'm looking at it. The star doesn't really move this time, it more just swaps places between these 2 islands. And this is done when you land on the happening spaces, of course. And I gotta admit, moving the star over to your island right when someone is about to get it can cause a lot of fun chaos. And this map isn't all that big, so a lot of stars are usually being thrown around. I really like the whole bridge system here. See, every time you cross one of these bridges, you have to pay a toll, but you can set the toll to whatever you like. The only catch is that every time someone pays the toll, they have to pay more than the previous person did by at least 1 coin. Because of this, these tolls will always keep increasing. And there's some strategy here, because if you don't want someone to follow you across the bridge, then you can just overpay this thwomp so the other guy can't afford it. Provided you have the funds, of course. But really, why this one is lower than the others is not because of anything crazy, really. There's nothing annoying or frustrating here, but it's really just more of a simple map. There's not any weaving paths or that crazy of events. The star can move, that's about it. So there isn't as many funny, crazy board situations that could happen. And that's not a bad thing to just have a more simple map like this, but the others in the game I find are more interesting to play. Ugh, so we're getting like halfway through this ranking pretty well, and I'm already getting pretty hungry. If only there was a board that I could talk about and eat at the same time. The board that's based on the end screen of Mario 64, Peach's birthday cake. Now at first glance, this board may seem pretty simple. It's essentially just one big straight path in a circle. But this board design all plays into the main mechanic here. Basically, the star stays in one place and you have to circle round and round the board the fastest so you can get the most stars. However, there is quite a bit of green spaces, and if you land on them, you can set traps of sorts for the other players if they land on that space. You can pay to steal their coins or even stars, but stealing stars will cost you more. Oh, and someone is bound to land on these spaces since you're all circling around the same path. And because it's a pretty short path too, it puts a lot more focus on getting coins since you'll be landing on the star space a lot more often and you'll need to pay for them. This is where the stealing of other people's coins comes into play as well. And it also puts a lot more pressure and focus on the mini games too, so the stakes are always higher when playing them on this board. The only other path you can deviate to is this one little roundabout, which seems like a nice shortcut back to the star, until you realize there's a lot of red spaces, a Bowser space, and you'll have to meet Bowser there who steals your coins. So because of all of this, you most likely won't have enough coins when coming out of there, so you generally avoid this loop. But that can be hard to do because you randomly have to choose a seed every time you pass this Goomba on the normal board. And if you get the Bowser one, then yeah, you gotta see Bowser. I like how when the first person goes, he has a 1 in 4 chance to get the bad one, then the next person has a 1 in 3, and then 1 in 2. So it makes it more intense for the next person every time someone chooses correctly, which is a lot of fun. It's like that Bowser Bomb game, now that I think of it. So just some solid fundamentals here really. An interesting concept that does its job and does it well. And the music, okay, it's very catchy too. Yes, I know, I just admitted that I like a song called Princess Peach's Birthday Cake from a Mario Party game, but sue me, okay? It's a good song. Okay, so down to the wire with just the final 2 boards here, and oddly enough, these are both originally from Mario Party 2. I swear no bias here, guys, but regardless, we gotta start with Spaceland. The main gimmick of this board is that there is a counter in the middle that decreases every time somebody walks over it. And if it reaches 0, then everyone on this path here gets shot with a laser and loses all of their coins. So yeah, don't stand there. Honestly, okay, being straight up, this mechanic doesn't really come into play that much. I mean, relatively speaking, it only covers a small amount of spaces on the entire board, so many times no one's even gonna be on there. The other mechanic of this board that comes into play a bit more is the green happening spaces. When landed on, they put you all the way back the entire length of one side of the whole board, or even 2 sides, which is literally across the entire map if someone pays 5 coins for it though. This can actually be fun if you plan to land on these things because it can completely screw others out of getting a star or even put you in a position to get a star if it's back somewhere. And this is just another way in the map you can move a pretty far distance in just one turn. However, what I really like about this board is simply the layout. It's almost like a spider web with a central point here which intercepts with 8 different paths. In most cases, this allows for pretty direct access to all the different sections for the board. And this just makes it very strategic and intense when racing other players to the star, since there is usually somewhat of a quick path to get there. So most of the time, Spaceland provided a lot of strategy this way, and of course, a lot of fun moments. My favorite board to play in Mario Party Superstars is Horrorland. This board actually has a lot of things going for it, and a lot of things happening in general. So I'll quickly go over the board mechanics. Basically, every 2 turns, the time of day will either switch to the morning or night, and certain events are different depending on the time of day. Things like paths only being able to change during the day, the cost of things being different, and all of the boos, except one, only appear at night. And oh, there's a lot of different boos that appear in this board in general. There's 3 normal ones and King Boo, so yes, a lot of coins and star stealing is gonna happen, which causes a lot of the franticness that Mario Party is known for. But they're not just giving these away, since you have to strategically pass these boos during night, so that's good. And then there's King Boo, who only appears on this map, only at night, only through a skeleton key door, and charges a lot of money for taking a star. But if all these conditions are met, then for the high price of 150 coins, he'll steal 1 star from everybody, essentially giving you 3 stars. Yeah, let's say this is very hard to do, but it will really cause some chaos if it's done. And besides that, I'd say this board just has another great layout to it. Just look at the design and the amount of different paths you can take. I absolutely love the crazy layout of this board and all the options it gives you. There's also a lot of events and different interesting spaces, which is great. And then they even have this handy dandy eyeball teleporter that pretty well takes you across the entire board so you can still get where you want fairly quick. Overall, Horrorland has an interesting board mechanic, some crazy spaces to land on, and a great layout, making it my favorite in this game. And hey, I guess Nintendo liked this whole idea too, because they made this day and night gimmick the entire mechanic for every board on Mario Party 6. So that must mean something. Or maybe not, I don't know, could be. I'm out of here, watch my Mario Party ranking video, see ya.